Hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit today about your taxes. What they are now, how Project 2025 could affect them, and perhaps something even worse. Taxes are one of the most complained about elements of American life, and for some good reason. No one likes having less money, especially when it's difficult to find where the money is even going. This is why most political campaigns will make promises of lowering taxes, usually specifying cuts for the middle and lower class. Former President Trump ran on this platform in 2016 and did just that in 2017, signing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Although the monetary range of the brackets did not change, the percentages that were applied did, even lowering by a few percentage points. This is the current tax state we live under. Assuming that no more laws relating to the tax code are passed and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is allowed to expire, we will return to the previous tax brackets, increasing taxes for the vast majority of Americans. This is where both former President Trump and Vice President Harris have a chance to make their case. The Democratic Party released their platform in the days preceding the Democratic National Convention, and while it does not contain the specific numbers I am talking about today, it does promise to lower taxes for working-class families. Project 2025, while not officially endorsed by former President Trump, should be taken as a serious consideration of what Republican policymakers seek to achieve in a 2024 victory. Mandate for Leadership describes replacing the current tax brackets with only two, one at 15% and the other at 30%, the switch taking place at about $168,000 at the moment. This number will adjust as it is based off of the Social Security wage base that is adjusted each year for inflation. This year, at least, it is $168,600. When I looked at this, I made an immediate assumption that this would be worse for most people, so I devised a small Python program that would graph the tax rates for different incomes. The results I got are now on screen. The highest tax rates for the least wealthy are in the theoretical 2026 if the current tax rates are simply allowed to expire. I believe that this is extremely unlikely, especially considering both parties' promises to not raise taxes. However, I would like to keep it here for the sake of being thorough. Otherwise, the rates proposed in Project 2025 are easily quite a bit higher than the current ones, and they remain higher until you begin to make about $85,000. At this point, Project 2025 remains lower than any other. I think this makes it very clear that this proposed system exclusively benefits the wealthy. The median income in America is around $55,000, leaving the majority of people with higher tax bills. This could be less of a problem if the government provided more services than it did, but that is currently not the case, and Project 2025 seems far more interested in cutting government expenses. To further illustrate the benefit wealthy individuals receive, let's expand the graph a bit. A person making $200,000 would be paying $7,000 less dollars in taxes. If we keep expanding it out, the gap never comes close again. A person making $400,000 will pay about $10,000 less, and at $600,000, about $25,000 less. The wealthy benefit and everyone else picks up the slack. I should probably add here now that these tax rates are making some assumptions, primarily that you are single and take the standard deduction. There are many factors here that can affect your final tax bill, and I'll list on the screen the assumptions that this takes into account. I thought I should also mention, though, that the tax rates for married individuals would be similar but scaled upward, and being married doubles the amount of money needed to enter the next tax bracket. The percentages stayed the same, though. Comparing single to married filers is always a bit unfair, and if you were to compare married filers to other married filers, the graph shape would be the same as for single filers. The penultimate system we're going to talk about is the one proposed by the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, an organization of Republicans seeking to unite the party and pursuing conservative values. Some of the bigger names that have supported them are Ronald Reagan, Phyllis Schlafly, Ken Blackwell, Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, and Pat Buchanan. If you want a more full list, you can check their website. What we are specifically looking at today is their platform, provided as a 371-point Google Doc that gives many of their beliefs and policies. In the section related to taxes, we find that they propose a federal income tax of 35% for everyone, no brackets. Along with this, they raised the standard deduction by over double and quadrupled the child tax credit. They claim that this is an incentive towards having families, and it is absolutely trying to do that. Normally, married filers have their standard deduction doubled from single filers to account for 2 people. The NFRA instead goes with a 1.5 times increase, even further incentivizing marriage. Now, considering that every other bracket we've been looking at today has been for single filers, I can't imagine that this graph is going to look good. Oh my goodness. It's a little hard to look at this and take it completely seriously. This is far less an incentive to get married as it is a ridiculous punishment for deciding to remain single. At $100,000 of income, your taxes are double from that of Project 2025's proposed rates, just under double for the current tax rates. This doesn't even seem to help the wealthy unless you scroll a little farther and find other points calling for the abolition of state income tax, inheritance tax, and property tax. This plan is ridiculous, and I doubt it would make it very far if even proposed. The very last thing to touch on is the possibility of a national consumption tax, usually in the form of a national sales tax. Project 2025 talks about it in their section on fundamental tax reform, and the NFRA places it first and foremost, only talking about the 35% tax rate if they fail to repeal the 16th Amendment and the abolition of the IRS. Most states already have their own sales tax, and my state, Tennessee, is second place with a sales tax of 9.55%. This applies to just about every consumer good that you would buy. I can tell you right now that having an almost extra 10% added to every purchase I make isn't very fun, and I'm sure that most of you already know that. I'm sure Alaskans are mad about their 1.82% and North Carolinians of their 7%. The current suggestion of a national sales tax comes in the form of the Fair Tax Act of 2023, suggesting a 23% tax with rebates for families based off of family size and financial situation. I feel I shouldn't have to say why this affects poor people the most. They have to use their money to buy things that they need, and with money already at short supply, it's hard to ask for them to give an extra 23%. Rich people have excess money, and while it's still annoying to have to pay for more for things, they are not at threat of starvation or homelessness. Middle and working class families have the potential to be moved to the brink, if not into poverty. To add a cherry to this, the effective tax rate is actually 30%, as explained in this Forbes article, and an explanation from the Tax Foundation cited Bill Gales saying that the tax rate would need to be closer to 44% to not lose revenue. And there we have it. In terms of tax systems, we have the current, the slightly worse, I hope you make 80 grand, excuse me, and what the hell. This is Tate Reed, signing off.